Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and holy shit, Damian Lillard has finally been traded. So, Damian Lillard, now a Milwaukee Buck. It is a 3-team trade with the Milwaukee Bucks, the Phoenix Suns, and the Portland Trail Blazers. I'll go over really quickly with all of the assets being moved. So, of course, the Bucks get Damian Lillard. The Blazers, they're going to end up getting Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, I've never heard of this man, a 2029 first round pick, 2 pick swaps, and the Suns are going to be receiving Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. So let's of course start off with the Milwaukee Bucks, who I think are probably the biggest winner in this trade. Yes, losing Drew Holiday is definitely a big hit, especially as a perimeter defender. Drew Holiday, one of the best, probably the best guard defender in the NBA. Not only the best guard defender in the NBA, but also having the ability to guard bigger forwards as well. That's something that I think the Bucks are really going to miss. But Jesus Christ, dude, is Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard as an offensive player is one of the best in the league. He's one of the best three-point shooters, one of the best playmakers in the league, just regardless of position. And being able to add Dame next to Giannis, even though we haven't seen them play, there's just no doubt in my mind that this will probably end up being the best duo in the NBA. I just think these guys really fit great together. Giannis, of course, a great defensive player. Dame, not so much, but Dame is able to provide a lot better offense than what I think Giannis is able to provide, and they provide just different things in general. Giannis, a great rim pressure guy. Damian Lillard, one of the best jump shot shooters in the NBA. And with the new head coach, with Adrian Griffin, I am hoping that he makes Giannis Antetokounmpo become more of a role man and also involve him more with dribble handoffs. And that's something that's going to be super valuable with Damian Lillard, because now you don't have to rely on Giannis being a ball handler in the half-court offense. That's something that Dame can take care of. And just looking at it as a whole organization, only having to give up Drew Holiday and a couple of picks, I think is really good. And in my opinion, I think this clearly makes them the best team in the East. And for that reason, I think slight losers in this trade have to be the Heat, the Sixers, and the Celtics. These are all teams that are probably going to be competing with the Bucks. And at this point, unless something crazy happens with, Harden potentially leaving the 76ers could maybe get something crazy back that puts them over the Bucks. But I honestly don't see any of this happening. I think the Bucks are going to be clearly the best team in the East, and they will be the team to beat in the East. Moving on to the Trailblazers, who I think are also coming out of this trade as winners. Obviously not as much as the Bucks, but I think they definitely got a lot of value for Damian Lillard. Getting DeAndre Ayton as a young piece, I think is really good. Of course, I'm not the biggest fan of Ayton, at least with him on the Suns, but with him definitely having a better role and being able to be utilized more in the offense with the Trailblazers and obviously being in their timeline, I think that will alleviate some pressure of him trying to be a win now sort of center for the Suns that he was. I just think those expectations were honestly maybe too much for him. And at this point, with a team with very low expectations of at least winning and not having to win right now, this can allow him to really develop his game and make mistakes, because for a team that's tanking, you can make as many mistakes as you want. And of course, getting a first round pick in 2029, which by the way is unprotected, I think is really great as well. It is one first round pick, but it is very far into the future. Of course, things can change for the Bucks in the next 6 to 7 years. Maybe Giannis isn't on this team anymore, so this pick may be super valuable for the Blazers. And the pick swaps usually end up not really being that crazy, but that at least is some sort of asset coming out of this trade as well. And while reports are saying that Drew Holiday is probably not going to stay on this team, it's probably going to get shipped out, this in turn will give them even more assets to this trade. I'm just happy that the Blazers are finally making the decision to move on into this rebuilding stage. They honestly should have done it 3 years ago, but at least we're here now, and we're not continuing to play this game of, oh, when are they going to trade Dame? Are they going to trade Dame? And then they just never did it. They finally did it, and we just have to give them some sort of credit for putting on their big boy pants and just ripping the band-aid right off and finally trading Dame. And moving on into the last team of this trade, which is the Phoenix Suns, and I do feel a little bit indifferent about this. Do I think they are major winners in this trade? No, not at all. But do I think they absolutely lost this trade? I also don't think that. We'll start off just with the role players. Grayson Allen, I think, is going to be a really great shooter on this team. You can never have too much shooting on an NBA team, and that's something that I think the Suns needed last year, especially in the playoffs when they were pretty much begging Landry Shamet to be their Lord and Savior as a three-point shooter. He got him one game. I think Grayson Allen could potentially do something very similar, at least in the playoffs, but again, we'll have to see if that actually happens. But he is one of the best three-point shooters in the league, at least percentage-wise. Nasir Little is also a young 3-and-D guy that I think has room to grow, and with an increased opportunity on this team, I think he will be able to prove himself and get some pretty decent minutes on this team that is definitely going to probably be playing a lot of small ball. Keon Johnson, to be honest, I don't know much about him. He probably won't get that much playing time anyway, but he's also kind of a young player that they got out of this trade. And then with Yusuf Nurkic, this is where I think the biggest indifference comes, because I think these role players are going to be really good for the Suns, but Yusuf Nurkic is just a major downgrade from DeAndre Ayton in my opinion. And the way people are talking about Yusuf Nurkic right now is like he is a top 10 big in the game, at least media-wise, media talking about this, like Nick Wright just very recently.
Well, Nurkic will help them defensively. He's a better defender than DeAndre Ayton if he's healthy.
He's not the rim protector, but he's a bigger body.
Yeah, and
I think he would love to go. I mean, again, obviously he's overmatched, but he'd love to go up against Jokic.
Yeah, have fun.
You would think that Yusuf Nurkic is this borderline top 10 center guy, and he is a great defender. That is by far and away a complete lie. Yusuf Nurkic is not a better defender than Ayton. I think he is by far and away a worse defender than Ayton. I think the gap is pretty big between them defensively. Of course, Nurkic is a big body, which I guess if you're the Suns, you probably want a bigger body to put on someone like an AD or Jokic, but dude, Nurkic is going to get cooked. I understand probably the relationship between the Suns and DeAndre Ayton is probably cooked, and there was probably no way in hell that was actually going to get solved, but geez, dude, when I saw the report saying that they wanted Yusuf Nurkic as a defensive presence, I don't know what they were smoking, because he is not going to be a defensive presence. Sure, he's a big body, but just because you're a big body doesn't mean you are a good defender. At this point, the Suns have to lean into this all offense or nothing sort of style of game, and I think that's going to win them a lot of regular season games, and depending on who they match up with in the playoffs, I think they could definitely be a second round team. But I don't see them really getting any farther, especially with the Nuggets and the Lakers in the same conference. And again, while I think the Suns got some much needed assets, especially coming off the bench with Nasir Little and Grayson Allen, this Nurkic at center thing is going to be really wishy-washy. And another concern with him as well is that he is kind of not that healthy of a player. He does battle some injuries. And when you just look at the Suns team, KD has been struggling with injuries, so has Bradley Beal. And now you're adding Nurkic. That is 3 starters that are going to be borderline just above half the season of games played. I'm letting y'all know this right now. If we get to a point where these guys are having injury problems, and because of that, it's limiting the success of the Suns, that is not my problem. The Suns ownership and the people who made these trades, they have to have some sort of understanding that that is what they're getting themselves into. So if it ends up happening, we cannot give any excuses for the Suns, because this is what they are buying into. They are buying into this play style of all offense, what they think is a good defense, but not really. And, you know, they could definitely potentially struggle in the regular season if these key guys end up getting injured. But man, I am just so happy that Damian Lillard is traded. We can finally get this one out of our heads. This was much needed news. Man, the offseason was getting really boring there for a second. I'm finally back from my vacation. Also, getting healthy as well from my sickness. So videos should be picking up here pretty soon. But if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to like and sub. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so it means a lot. Make sure to check out my socials down below in the description. You can also check out this video somewhere on the screen. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.